we require all federal employees to get vaccinated?
That's under consideration right now, but if you're not vaccinated, you're not nearly as smart as I thought you were.
All right, President Biden sending the message today to get vaccinated. Full stop, period. This is the same day the CDC reversed its indoor mask policy, now recommending that fully vaccinated people in areas with high COVID transmission rates wear masks in public indoor settings. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky also recommended schools return in person this fall, but that all students, regardless of their vaccination status, wear masks during school. And then chilling words suggesting an unending and unnerving reality. Walensky said we could be just a few mutations away from a variant that could evade our vaccines. We'll be hearing more from the White House on Thursday when President Biden will reportedly announce that all federal employees will be required to be vaccinated against COVID-19 or face repeated testing mandates. I'm joined now by U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy. Dr. Murthy, very happy to have you with me tonight. I have to tell you, when I saw the briefing today, the most striking thing to me was the news that people can get infected with the virus, and it's just as dangerous. I think the question on everybody's mind, I know it is on mine, are we in store for another shutdown if we don't get ahead of this virus?
Well, it's so good to be with you today. And let me just say that, we're very worried about what's happening with the Delta variant, because here's what's changed in the last few weeks. It has spread rapidly. It's taken over. In fact, the vast majority of infections are now Delta in our country. But we're also seeing that the cases have more than quadrupled in recent weeks. And these are being driven by the Delta variant. But one of the key pieces of information also that the CDC was acting on today was data from recent days that helped us understand that even though breakthrough infections are unusual, they have greater potential to transmit to others than what we had seen in the past with other variants. You put all of this together, and it comes, and it basically is sending us a message that we got to do more. And certainly we've got to keep vaccinating people, because the bottom line, and something that hasn't changed, is that vaccines still work. They still save lives. They still prevent hospitalizations at a remarkably successful rate. But we've got to keep getting more people vaccinated. And in the short term, the masks that the CDC recommended today for fully vaccinated people in indoor settings in parts of the country where there's substantial transmission, these measures will help us prevent the spread of virus. And that's really what we've got to do immediately.
Well, these measures, if people follow them. So I want to get into this whole mask mandate in schools. So if the CDC is recommending this, but you have these red states led by Republican governors, I mean, look at Texas and Arkansas, where, they're trying to ban mask mandates. So who's in charge here? I mean, is the federal government trumping local government? Who should parents listen to, and what should school officials follow?
Well, it's a very good question. This can absolutely be confusing, but the federal government actually does not have the authority to put mask mandates in place in schools. Those are actually decisions that are made by local government. What the federal government can do is make recommendations based on the data in terms of what it thinks should happen. And the CDC has actually done just that in recent weeks for schools, laying out, in fact, a series of layers of precautions that we have to take in schools to keep our kids safe. They include masks, but they also include testing, improved ventilation, making sure we keep kids home when they're sick, and measures like that. The concern that I have as well is that if we don't take these measures in local districts, if local or state government actually prevents communities from protecting our children in this way, it's going to be hard for our kids. It's going to be hard for parents. And I think about this first and foremost as a dad who's got two small kids who are going to be starting school in the fall. I want my community to be doing everything to keep my kids safe. And I think most parents would feel the same.
Well, we think most parents would feel the same. We would hope so. But there are still some parents who are very resistant to the vaccine. There are still a lot of people that are very distrustful of health officials and the government around this. So it feels like politics is getting in the way of protecting our health. But let me ask you, because I think a lot of people want to know. The news today was very striking and very jarring to a lot of folks. Should we be traveling? I mean, should we be going to concerts, to plays, gathering in these large spaces as the summer months come to an end? Because the fact that you're saying wear masks, I think it felt very abrupt that society opened up again. And now maybe it's like, whoa, pump the brakes and slow your roll.
Well, it's an important question. And I know that when news like this comes out, people are wondering, where do we stand? Have we gone back to where we were last year? let me zoom out and actually talk about that for a moment. The bottom line is we are much safer than where we were last year. And the key reason is because we can get vaccinated. Now, the added protection of masks that the CDC recommended today will help reduce the spread of Delta. But there are some activities that we will have to reconsider in terms of how we engage in them. So, for example, if you're in a part of the country that's seeing a substantial amount of transmission of virus, then you should think about the indoor spaces and gatherings that you go to and put a mask on if you're going to go to gather with people outside your household in indoor settings, whether that's someone else's house or whether that's a restaurant. You should also think in terms of your travel about ensuring you're taking all the precautions we know help with making travel safe. That means keeping your mask on, it means making when you're in the airport, making sure that you're also being careful and not, eating or going without your mask for prolonged periods of time. So there are steps we can take to protect ourselves, but in this moment where infections are rising rapidly, we have to take more caution to protect ourselves and the people around us.
All right. Well, I certainly hope that the mask mandate does not discourage people from getting the vaccine. But thank you so much, Surgeon General Vivek Murthy. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.